What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, we're going to be reviewing Halo Season 2, Episode 4, titled Reach. And I gotta be real. Now, I just watched it, so there might be a little biasness, some kind of recency, effect, but this episode was awesome. And look, there's been great parts. Season 2 has been really, I'd say, definitely above average. It's tried to, or it's had to, at least for me, win me back after Season 1 was borderline terrible. There was some elements of Season 1 that were good, but where am I building to? This was, I think, the best episode of the entire series. I truly believe that. And I don't just believe it because of, battles equals good. Look, in a Halo show, do you want to see a lot of fighting? Yes, you do a lot of fighting in the games, okay? But there's also character moments. There's also, this episode did a lot. And it really, to me, well, it concluded several things. I don't really want to spoil it, but there's several things that happen in this episode that I kind of just took a second, while things were happening, watching it on my monitor over there. I was in shock. There's very, very big things. Maybe we can do a spoiler kind of section to this video, but I thought they absolutely nailed it. From the fighting element, I thought camera work, visuals, there's actually been some spotty, when they do action-y things, it feels the most like Halo, right? In fact, even in Season 1, right, they really tried a couple different times, right, to make it that first-person kind of point of view, right? And they've done it pretty well. In this season, earlier on, although it's been very good, it's actually been carried by dialogue. It's been carried by acting. We talked about, Ackerson, Joseph Morgan, right? Phenomenal, I think, character and just really good talent. That's really what has elevated Season 2 in a lot of the quieter moments where there's not a lot of fight. There really has not been that much fighting before Episode 4. And when there was, honestly, the visuals looked pretty not great. Maybe all the budget went to this episode. Truly, I don't even say that jokingly, because it looked great, from the Jackals to the Elites to the Covenant in general, the big scale kind of fights, the camera work of where there's explosions and they're going from one kind of scene to the next, but the camera kind of follows them. I thought very well directed, very well, just the choreography, right? And even just the camera work, they did an incredible job, and nothing looked bad. There was a lot of explosion, and I don't know, does this, hopefully this is coming off the right way, right? But when you have these big kind of explosions or a lot of CG, or some fights, some pretty close-up fights where there's some dodging and some blocking and some shooting, it looked really good. It really did. So I'm very happy, because if you put that, in the last couple episodes, or specifically, I think maybe Episode 1, I think they did I don't remember which episode they were doing, their training montage kind of thing. I think it was maybe Episode 2. It looked pretty bad. When they're running and the camera kind of pulls out to show, the distance they're running, didn't look very good. But this episode crushed it with the visuals. And it was great. I mean, I'm not going to lie, right? It was great to see some action. It was really good action. And it had a lot of consequence. And I would say about, 10, 15 minutes into the episode, it's all right. And I thought this, and I actually am very thankful they did it. I was thinking, all right, this is a big episode. This is the fall of Reach, right? They have to eliminate some characters. They got to do some stuff to really shake it up. And, we'll talk about it more as we go. But I was thinking that, as the episode started to go, okay, this is a chance to really take some risks, in the sense that you're going to start to eliminate some of these people if you want to. And man, oh man, I mean, the emotion that this episode brought, it also brought character moments. There were some actually kind of scattered throughout. There were moments of, again, the quieter moments. It wasn't an entire 42 minutes of action. There was a couple times to catch your breath and have the characters, talk to. So, non-spoiler example, right? When Perez and Chief went into the ladies, they kind of wandered their way right by accident almost into that lady's, I guess, workshop, right? And she has all the trinkets. She has a keyboard. She has a typewriter, right, of past decades and decades. And, Perez, why aren't you getting out of here? They're going to glass the planet. You got to get out. And Chief simply says she understands. She understands. And and then they leave. I really, I'm starting to definitely more and more. I think he's a good actor. I really do think he's a good actor. I think he acts more and more like Chief every episode. And although Okay, there's a lot of fighting. He fights a lot in this episode. Would I have liked to seen it in the suit? Absolutely. There was the story reason why, the suits are not there and they're not in them. So I would have preferred that, because I actually have seen that criticism specifically of this episode. But I will say, as I've actually said in past reviews, one thing that I'm very happy about of this season is it doesn't matter if he's in or outside the suit. He just is acting like Chief more. And I would say that compared to season 1, where I think it was there. I definitely think it was there. And I think in the suit was like the best. It kind of is just a different almost persona or character in and of itself, right? But when he was out of the suit, maybe it was the dialogue, maybe it was the way, him and Cortana and the emotions that he was supposed to try to portray. He's a lot more stone-faced, although in this episode, there's a bit more care, right? He does care about certain people. He cares about certain situations. You see him smile a little bit. You see him almost like chuckle a little bit at the almost sight of fighting, right? So I think they did that would really be my sentiment for the whole season, although he's not in the suit. And yes, I'd prefer it. And yes, I'd prefer the mask, right? He's acting more like Chief regardless, and that is so much better than what we got in season 1. And then in this episode, yeah, you have to have him outside the suit the entire time. I still think he brought it. I think he did an incredible job, but everybody did a great job. Keyes' speech, again, I don't think that, no spoilers in that either. There's a speech about halfway through that is like it's 10 out of 10. I think I mentioned in the last episode when Ackerson and Keyes were going back and forth when they found, Cobalt team, right? I thought that was one of the more better acted. Those two were very seasoned. Those two are just very good. And those two kind of bouncing back and forth, I think, were extremely. It was maybe one of the better acting, things they had in this season. So he's a very strong actor. And when he did that speech, I felt it. I was like, I'm ready to go to war for you, sir. Right? It's like, let's defend Reach together. But no, I think that was an excellent part. And again, I mean, it's not quieter. He's shouting it. He's telling a speech, to all these soldiers, but it's not nonstop action. There was a break. You had a little bit of dialogue. You had I told you so moment for Chief. He's been right all along and nobody believed him, right? Some of it was manufactured that way, right? But then he does the speech, and 10 out of 10 speech. I'd follow that man anywhere, and a lot of them did, follow him. So I want to quickly, because there are so many big things that happens, I want to just talk about it in a spoiler section. So phenomenal episode, my favorite of the season, my favorite of the series. Let's talk about spoilers just for a few minutes, but let's start it right now. Okay, so some deaths. I did not see this coming at all. Vanek, when they killed Keyes, I mean, let's just say all the deaths that happened. Okay. When they killed Keyes, I was like, well, that's the one. That is the major death. And I really thought he was safe. I thought he was safe because the whole Chief line to him where, like, hey, you need to stay put. We'll go handle it. We need people like you because there's going to be more battles, and we don't want someone like Ackerson leading the charge. We want you to make the decisions. And, that's what Chief told him. Firstly, great back and forth, and the entire thing of those two back and forth, extremely good. Secondly, I thought that was like his get out of jail free card, right? Where it's like, okay, he's going to go with the civilians. They'll have him and Perez, they'll get on the ship, and they can maybe have their own side story over these next 4 episodes. Well, it turns out that's not exactly what they had planned. So that really shocked me because he's a major character. He's a very important character, and man, oh man, again, like very just good actor, amazing speech. I mean, they handled his death, I would also say, really well. Like, he went out strong. He had an army, in front of him, and he was basically cornered, right? Like, he had to get the civilians out. I think it made sense. I wasn't, upset. It made sense how he died, and he went out while taking out, a lot of the enemy. So, at the same time, though, I thought that was, the last death. Well, before that, I gotta be real, I don't remember these people's names, but the blind guy, who, I mean, he was really good. Honestly, he was a great supporting character. I think he was also in season 1, right? Honestly, he doesn't make, the biggest impact. He definitely started to, and I think that was kind of, their warm-up almost with this episode, because he started to be a character where it was like, oh, yeah, I like this guy, and he wanted to be a part of it. He was super cool, with the grenade launcher, so, I thought he was a pretty solid character, and, his sacrificial, death, and what that did to Riz, right? I really like that. And Riz has been a great character all season. She continues to get better. Now she's seeing loved ones. I think, people that she really cares about. Maybe she kind of hides it a little bit, but she's seeing them die left and right in this episode specifically. I really like the character arc, that she is going through. So you had that. You had those two die. You had Soren. I never mentioned this in the spoiler-free section, but Soren and Halsey, loved it. Very different dynamic. It was cool to see those two together, and I think they're also very capable actors and just some really good scenes. We finally got to see Halsey. She has absolutely showed emotion and been more than just like a one-dimensional person, but I think a lot of people in the universe, see her as that. So to have her lose Keyes, to have her, be in the midst of all of this fighting, and to have her really break down right at the fall of Reach, that was like it was sad. Like, I felt sad for her. I like her, as a character. Obviously, she's done some questionable things, but I thought, again, the acting there. But those two, Soren and Halsey, their dynamic throughout the whole episode, I thought was extremely good. And then, so like I said, when Keyes dies, I'm thinking, all right, that's it, right? It blows up. They're storming. You have like the elites of the elites, and it's a really cool fight scene. And then Chief gets blasted, and it's like, oh my god, like this is really falling apart quick. And then Vanek has to jump in, and I mean with the Needler, right? Like, holy Jesus! I did not expect that. I also don't know where Kai is, and it would have been cool to see her dynamic. I'm sure she's elsewhere and she'll be fine. And she's a great character, I think, in this season as well so far. So hopefully, the further she goes, the better she gets. But to lose, I mean, they lost one of the key people, one of the core four, I guess, of that group, right? Like, losing Keyes was definitely like that hurt the most. That one, and that was more extended, right? Like, you saw it coming. They played it out. There was some really beautiful music in the background of that scene. It was really good, okay? So you have that scene, and that was shocking in the sense that is a really major character. And then, maybe 7 minutes later, maybe even less, to do it again. And maybe, I don't know if Vanek is as important of a character as Keyes is, but that caught me off guard. And the impact that I guess both of their losses is going to have on Chief, and Chief saw that one right in his face, right? It happened right in front of him, and so did Riz, right? So that's another thing that's going to stick with her. Loved it. I mean, I think they handled the death scenes in this episode really, really well, and I'm really, at this point, I'm excited. I think it's going to slow down. I think episode 5 will be a little bit of a slower episode, where, again, the dialogue and characters are going to kind of have to carry it. Now, luckily, with the new writing, the new showrunner, I actually have quite a bit of confidence that they'll be able to handle it. There's going to be a lot of reflecting and just like, how do they take all these losses, right? That's going to be a lot of, I imagine, the next episode. And I feel pretty good that they'll be able to do it quite well. To see Soren and Chief, back again. Halsey comes in. So, like, everybody is now together, right? Everybody's kind of stuck together now. That's going to be really cool. So I'm actually extremely excited. 4 was everything I wanted it to be, and actually much, much more. I did not think it was going to be this good. So congrats. I mean, I feel like they deserve some sort of praise. I highly doubt they would see a review such as mine, but I really hope, like, people are enjoying this season, especially, again, like, last season was terrible. Season 1 was awful, and the pivot and the 180 that they've made has been astounding, and I'm very happy. Like, I think they deserve some sort of award for this, because I do think they listened. Whether it was firing people or replacing people, whatever, they got the right people in there, I feel, and they're doing just fine now. So congrats to them. Honestly, congrats. Can't wait for the second half. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.